Well, this is extremely historical because it's the first American pope ever chosen, and it's something that I think our country as a whole will have to absorb because it was unexpected. An American pope would have been a long shot, and Pope Leo the 14th has made history, and so we look forward to him, learning more about him and hearing him and reading his writings, and so we'll find out more about who he is and what he plans for the church.
From what you know of him so far, is he a good choice or a bad choice?
Oh, I believe he's an excellent choice. He's a moderate, and he is American-born, born in Chicago. He's 69 years old, and he took the name Leo the 14th. And he spent most of his time as a bishop in Peru, appointed there by Pope Francis. He's an Augustinian friar, which means that he belongs to a religious community, the Augustinians. He was also a missionary in Peru. So again, he's very much like Francis, who was a missionary in Argentina. And also Francis was a Jesuit, which is, again, a religious community, and St. Augustine is a religious community also. So there's a special charism. When someone belongs to a religious community, they take on the charism of the founder. And if you want to do some research, look up the life of St. Augustine, and I think you'll find it very interesting. His life, his conversion, and for some reason, I don't know the details of how Cardinal Robert Provost became an Augustinian, what influenced him, where did he go to the seminary? I don't know that.
When you learned that he was the new pope, what was going through your mind?
Well, I knew, I saw his picture. It was, again, a long shot, and what went through my mind when I heard that it was he, I said, oh my goodness, we have a native English-speaking pope, which will be wonderful for us Americans, especially those of us who don't know any other language. But the fact that he's a native-speaking English pope will be, I think, welcomed to the Catholics in the United States and Canada, Australia, and so it's the first. And yes, ma'am.
Archbishop, you said earlier that you said twice so far that he was a long shot. Why did you originally think that he was a long shot?
Well, because America, as a Catholic, Christian nation, founded on those principles, is relatively young compared to the rest of the world. So the history of the Catholic Church in America is only 240 some years old, whereas in Western Europe, Italy, and other parts of the world, the Catholic faith has been almost a national religion in Italy and France and Spain. These are all traditionally Catholic countries, and so it's more likely that leadership from those countries would be much more expected than somebody from a young country like the United States. But our Catholic population is about 25% of the population in the United States, so it's significant. And
Pope Francis was really known for his compassion, and he spoke out about the migrants. He spoke out about loving one another and being someone who was of the people. So what do you think this new pope will bring? What do you think his legacy will be?
I think the direction that Pope Leo the 14th will have, it will be similar to Pope Francis insofar as he was a missionary. Francis was a missionary in Argentina, and Pope Leo the 14th was a missionary in Peru. And when you're a missionary, you live among the people, and you live and work among the poorest of the people. And so he has that experience, and he learned their language, he learned their culture, He's very much acquainted with a developing country, like many of the indigenous communities in Peru. So he brings that wealth of experience with him to the Vatican. As a world leader, to have the experience of the poor is very important, I think, to see the global picture of the economy of the people who live on our planet. Most of the country, 75% of the world lives differently than the United States. And for the leader of a universal global language, let me start again. A Catholic leader of a world religion of 1.4 billion people, it's important for them to have a global sense, a global experience of the kind of struggles that people have in their life. And given the fact that he was working in Peru as a bishop, but also as a missionary, as a religious, an Augustinian friar, he would have that advantage of having the experience of a developing country. And also, he's from the United States, born in Chicago. And so he understands our culture, perhaps more than any other pope did, because to really understand a culture and the religious belief and the faiths of a country, it's best if you can come from that country. And of course, the advantage that the new Pope, Leo XIV, has is that America is an immigrant nation. And so we have, especially in Chicago, where he grew up, there's neighborhoods, ethnic neighborhoods all over the city of Chicago. The Poles, the Italian, the Irish, those traditionally Catholic immigrants that came into the United States are very prevalent in the city of Chicago, and so he has that advantage as well. To me, he's a perfect candidate. I just didn't expect the cardinals from 133 cardinals from all over the world to be able to select and agree upon an American candidate or a cardinal as the next pope.
Archbishop, talk about that significance of the selection of the name Leo and what that tells us about what his papacy will symbolize.
I'll have to wait and see. I have to research Leo XIII's life and papacy and legacy. Because when a pope takes a new name, other than his baptismal name, it'll tell you something about what he wants to continue. What kind of an imprint does he want to make? And by choosing Pope Leo XIII to follow him would be interesting to know what that is, because he apparently has a great appreciation for Pope Leo XIII, as he's chosen the same name as now Leo XIV. So that would be something that I would need to do some more research on to see what, because Leo XIII was not alive when I was, so I don't know that much about Leo XIII.
I think what's always interesting about the Pope, and I apologize for our tardiness if you've already answered this,
Don't worry.
but even though he is the head of the Catholic Church, he seems to transcend Catholicism. So many people look to him as a leader, even if they don't practice the Catholic religion. What do you hope he brings to those who don't practice Catholicism, but maybe still identify as Christians or just look to him for guidance?
Well, I think the office of Pope is a world leader, and he has the vision of a world society, and so it's I think it's a wonderful tradition. It's a wonderful understanding of the Pope's effect on people, no matter where they live or what religion they are professing, or whatever part of the world they come from, or whatever culture they are from. Just seeing the media and the publicity that, first of all, the death of Francis created, and now the curiosity of who the new pope is, tells you that that position has some importance in the world. and people do listen to the Pope, no matter what religion they are, because he has wisdom, and he has a great deal of knowledge from the life that he lived and the tradition of the Catholic Church and its teachings. So I think a lot of people will listen to the Pope. Not everybody will agree with him, but nonetheless, they are interested. And you can see by the publicity that this has caused, and it has over the last several popes that have been elected, the world is interested in the Pope because I believe they see him as a moral compass. And the Pope has something to say that's rooted in 2,000 years of history in the Christian tradition. And I think people listen to what the Pope has to say. And they're drawn to him because he's drawing them to himself, because he's outgoing. He sees himself as a spiritual father to the world population. And he, acting as a vicar of Christ, he's obviously interested in everyone's needs. And so he's sensitive to the poor, especially Pope Leo the 14th. As a missionary, he understands the poor. He lived among the poor. He learned the language of the poor. And so he brings to the papacy that experience, that wealth of experience. He was also in Rome the last couple of years. He was the prefect of the Congregation for Bishops. And that congregation of bishops selects bishops for all the dioceses throughout the world. And so he was head of that committee, or that dicastery, as it's called. And so he's aware of the needs of bishops in the church, Catholic Church all over the world. And so he's really an ideal candidate because of his experience in Rome, his knowledge of the Italian language, the Spanish language, the English language, native-born Chicago priest, brings a lot of newness to the papacy, and people will give it a new look, and they'll be anxious to hear what he has to say, what his vision is for the church, and I think you'll see him as a moderate, which is a very good choice, I think, at this time in the church's history. And I think as he appeared in the loggia just now and introduced himself as Pope Leo XIV, he was dressed unlike Francis. When Francis came out on the loggia, when he was elected, he simply had his white cassock on, which was very plain, very simple. The popes before him, Benedict and all the way through, would typically wear a cassock with a stole. Stole is a sign of authority. And so he chose to wear that, and yet I think he's also very much aware of simplicity and the needs of people who live a poor life, a simple life. So I think you'll see him right down the middle. And being a religious, he follows, of course, the rule of life of St. Augustine, who was a wonderful saint in the church, had a tremendous conversion, was baptized by St. Ambrose in this great city of Milan. But Augustine had a great conversion in his life. His mother is St. Monica. St. Monica prayed for her son to convert. He was a pagan. And Augustine fathered a child out of wedlock. And his son eventually died, but his mother continued to pray for his conversion. She was a devout Catholic, Monica. And as his life unfolded, he did become a Catholic, and as I said, was baptized by St. Ambrose. And so it's a great story of his life, Augustine, and apparently he was influenced enough about the rule of life of St. Augustine to join that community here in the United States and become an Augustinian friar. So he brings that sense of community, of tradition, into his position now as Pope. So I don't think we could be more excited about the choice that was made, again, by the Holy Spirit through the College of Cardinals.
Can I ask you, just real
Yes,
quick
ma'am.
before we wrap up? What's next? So I know you guys have a bit of a watch party today. What do you guys plan to do?
Well, we didn't have a watch party, we had a meeting.
Well,
Turned into a watch party. It turned into a watch party. So after our meeting, we were able to see the news and to hear, as things were revealed, what his name was, where he's from, how old he is. Those that didn't know Cardinal Provost were certainly anxious to learn more about him, as is the world, because he wasn't an out front kind of candidate. He wasn't one of the more popular ones that were predicted, which is always the case. And yet we never learn from that because we always try to guess who's it going to be. The one I guessed didn't make it, obviously, but it's something that we don't elect because he campaigned or because he gave good speeches or he has a platform. Those things we didn't know about him, but over the last 10 days, as the cardinals have been meeting in their sessions in preparation for the conclave, they listened to each other about the needs of the world, the needs of the people in the world. And so each cardinal had an opportunity to speak about what is happening in their part of the world and what are their needs. And they were able to hear each other because many of them did not know each other. And so it was an opportunity to come to know more of the cardinals, because any one of them could have been chosen to be the new pope.
do you think you'll have a service or anything with your conference? What do you plan to do? I mean, today was a meeting that you said turned into a watch thing. What do you plan to do?
Well, we certainly want to learn more about him, and I hope we hear more from him in the days to come. The cardinals will be able to say some things about the pick of their choice without giving us the details as to how the voting went, because that is a secret. But they will give us their impression of him and their knowledge of him. And so we'll learn more about who Pope Leo XIV is going to be. And it's something we'll celebrate here in the Archdiocese. We haven't determined a date, but we will certainly have a celebration on the part of the Archdiocese of Atlanta because it is such a momentous occasion, and especially the choice that was made.
Archbishop,
Yes, ma'am.
are you anticipating, expecting a sort of revival in the U.S.?
I have witnessed and I have experienced a revival already. There's something happening. I don't know if it's that way in other countries, but I can tell you from my years here in Atlanta that things are changing. There's a tremendous uptick in attendance at church services. I travel throughout the whole Archdiocese, and so I see the numbers of people that come to services and come to the cathedral for Mass on Sunday, which is where I go most of the time. And they're young. They're young people, young families. And they're an inspiration to me to see so many young people continually coming to church or coming back to church, because I think the times in which we are living are causing us to be concerned. And I think the church has always helped us because of its tradition. The church has tradition, it has roots. It has beliefs that are unwavering, that give people answers to many of their questions. Even though they may not agree with all of the answers, they're looking for a tradition that is strong and sturdy and well-respected. And just look at the numbers of people that were waiting for that announcement in Rome. Wherever the Pope goes, whoever the Pope has been, they would draw millions of people to Mass at one time, in one place. And so this is the kind of reaction that I'm seeing in the church today, at least in the Southeast. And it's a pleasure to be in the Church of Atlanta here in the Archdiocese. because there is such enthusiasm, there's such newness, there's growth, and that's very hopeful. And in this year of hope, the number of pilgrimages, people want to go to Rome. They want to get in touch with the roots of the Roman Catholic faith, and I think this will be a boost. The election of this particular pope, I think, will have an effect on people of all ages, of all cultures, and even all religious traditions.